ahead, buddy. Go ahead. Oh, goalpost. Offside there. Go ahead, Petty. Icing. Let's go, Bobby. Joe, you're next, Joe. Donnie, Ricky. Come on, Bobby. Let's go there, Big Ralph. Come on, guys. Come on, Big Duker. Let's go, big guys. Come on, team. Won't be easy, guys. They're going to work hard on us.
As general manager, Jacques, you had a lot of work to do off the ice, and you were also assistant coach with Pat Stapleton. And I noticed the first couple of games we played against you guys that you were very nervous behind the bench. What was your relationship between you and Pat Stapleton?
Well, Pat and myself had a very good relationship. It was very difficult at first, Andre, to come in and step in as a coach. Pat did give me a lot of authority behind the bench of handling all sort of changes, all that. So it was an adjustment, and it took about 10 or 15 games before I was capable to really adjust myself and have the players realize that I knew what was going on the ice and how to handle the bench.
That'll work, guys. That'll work. Ralph, Duke, and Liddy. Attaboy, Ralphie. That's the way to get the face-offs. Go, go, go!
I was just coming out as a junior coach. I was successful as a junior coach, but coaching the pros is a different story. These guys know what they're doing, but it's a way of facing the play. It's so fast, changing the players. You can't make any mistakes. There's certain guys, you got to have a certain guy play against a face-off man. There's certain guys that are much better. So it's such a matter of disciplining yourself to know what you're going to do. And I was nervous at times because I felt possibly if I would make a mistake, I would be responsible. But I think after talking quite a few times with Pat, he says the guys on the ice are making mistakes, and you're capable of making mistakes behind the bench. And giving me complete authority sort of gave me confidence, because I felt that if he puts confidence in me, and as the season was progressing, I would say the first 10 or 15 games, Andre, it was a little difficult for me to adjust towards the players. Some players felt possibly I couldn't handle the job. And as time came, they started to realize I knew what I was doing, and Pat kept on giving me more and more freedom to handle the bench. It was a great experience, really.
Hey, we had two guys jumping on there.
Yeah, I always said it's the center, the first center on the line. That's right.
The next center, but let's make it get it straight.
Okay.
We had Rod jumping on and Reggie jumping on. We got too many men on
Because the first center and the next line should be the one to take the place.
No big deal, but let's get it straight.
Yeah, it could cost us a penalty or something like that, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, wait.
All right, let's try that out here, guys. Mark Szynski's next here.
Our coach, Pat Stapleton. I don't think there's anything else that we could say about Pat, that he's just a great hockey player. He proved it against the Russian series. He's very good defensive. And he's also capable of carrying that puck offensive. He's a two-way defenseman. I think that Pat, as a player coach, it was a little difficult of adjustment at the beginning, Andre, but I honestly think that he did a hell of a job. He was respected by all the players, and he also commanded respect on himself by playing the game the way he played so well.
You also got the rights to WHA, who was playing in Cleveland a couple of years ago. Well, how did Joe manage to play well on your team like he did?
Andre, Joe played extremely well for us. He's a tall centerman. He handles the puck very well. Also, Joe, through this year, helped us get the clutch goals, and he always come up with a big play, feeding one of his wingers who were getting a winning goal. I think Joe, to the Cougars, was as important as anyone else there, especially in the center spot where we were weak the year prior to that. I think Joe, this year coming up now, we're expecting a lot from him. I think it was a move to come into Chicago, a different style of hockey, and picked up 59 points for us, so he did extremely well.
I think one of the key players on your team was probably Ralph Backstrom. I think Ralph probably had his best year ever. And what was the reaction of the rest of the players?
Ralph, being 37, he inspired our younger players. We've seen many times Ralph stay after a practice, which was maybe an hour and 15 minutes, stay another 15, 20 minutes more with the players and with the younger guys, for show them how to shoot the puck, or these little tricks that Ralph has as a center. And he's been such a great athlete for us, and he's such a good guy. He's always the type of guy that'll give you 100%. I've seen Ralph get hit really hard sometimes, because naturally your best player is the one that's bound to get hit more. They'll try to take a run at you to scare you off, but one thing about Ralph, he'll bounce back stronger. And when you're sitting on a bench, you're 21, 22, and you see 37-year-old guy skating lads, you say, boy, I got to do the job too. So he's been, like you say, Andre, he had a great year for us, and I think Ralph is the type of guy that keeps so well in shape, he'll be able to play for another 4 or 5 years.
I played against Ralph Baxton for many years, and you don't seem to get any older. You play like you're 21 years old. What was your feelings when you first came with the Chicago Cougars?
Well, I was here with the Chicago Blackhawks at the conclusion of last year, and I went down to the amphitheater and I watched the Cougars play a few hockey games, and I was pretty impressed.
Did you find it difficult to adjust to different players?
No, not really, Andy. When you come to a new hockey club, you have to try different combinations to see if you can get a combination going, or a blend of 3 different hockey players. And at the start of the season, I played with different fellas, and it wasn't until near the end of the season when I started playing with Duke Harris and Bob Liddington. And it seemed that these 2 fellows suited my style of play very well, because I had on the left side Bob Liddington, who can skate, very, very fast, probably one of the fastest in the league. On my right, I had Duke Harris, who, as we all know, shoots a puck as hard as anybody in hockey today. So it was a good combination for me, because sometimes I like to hold on to the puck, sometimes I hold on too much, but it worked out pretty well, and I was really pleased playing with those 2 fellows.
If you have a chance on a breakaway, is it important to you to go as fast as possible, or do you make up your mind at the blue line, or do you make up your mind when you get in front of the goalie?
Well, what I like to do is, I like to see, first of all, who's in the nets, and I try and study the goaltenders a little bit. And, before the game, I'll watch them warm up a bit, and I think that certain goaltenders like to come out at you when you have a breakaway. Others like to back into the net. Some of the goaltenders are left-handed, so if you're going to shoot along the ice, you have to put it on the other side of the net. I think you have to, just like anything else, you have to do a little homework on the goaltenders, and because don't worry, they've already done their homework on you, so it's sometimes a 50-50 deal going in on a breakaway. But I think that most cases, most goals are scored by shooting, usually along the ice on the stick side or up high over the glove side, and I really don't know what I'm going to do when I have a breakaway, because I always feel that if I don't know what I'm going to do, how in the world does a goaltender know?
Did you try to work a little harder this season because you felt that you had to prove something, that and you also had a lot of younger players on the team?
Well, yes, you have to work a little harder in the off season. I've spent the last 3 or 4 summers using what we call street skates. I found that using them all summer, I can keep my legs toned, my back muscles and shoulder muscles toned, and I can. It seems that skating in the hot weather, I can increase my wind capacity.
I think you made a key trade when you got Jim Watson and Don Gordon. One was a steady defenseman, another one was a fine prospect.
Well, Andre, I think Bobby Whitlock, as you know, he had a great shot, all that. I think Bobby at that time wasn't playing up to his potential. And we felt really that we could expend Bobby by getting a defenseman, which we needed, a good hard-hitting defenseman in Jim Watson, because we never had a really hard-hitting defenseman. And I recall one game, the first game Jimmy played was against Cleveland, and he took a real good shot at Ron Buchanan. And it seems that at that time, the players said, boy, we got the guy who's going to hit for us. And Don Gordon, who I've seen play before in Dallas, who was in the Blackhawks organization, I felt that possibly could play on the right wing, and he has a good hard shot. And is not as spectacular as Bobby, but he's always playing up and down. And I think that trade really got us moving, because after we had those 2 guys, it seemed that the team picked up.
You had a rookie with your team this year, Jacques, Brian Coates, who I played against him a couple times, and he's a hustler. He's always in the corner. He always dig for the puck. Are you satisfied with his progress this year?
Very much so, Andre. He's very young. He's 21. He's very strong. Boston had drafted him in the 4th round 2 years ago. And when we looked at, Boston drafting Brian, they like the physical type of player, and they like those big guys. So we felt by signing him that we got a good young hockey player. He's very aggressive. One thing about him, he's an excellent liver. He's just thinking 100% hockey day and night, and I think next year he'll come back much stronger.
One player that I didn't mean to forget because he's a good friend of mine, and I think that he had a tremendous year with your team, is Rosie Arpema. I think Rosie is a good hitter, he's a good fighter, and he can also score goals. Were you satisfied with his play this year?
Yes, we were very satisfied with Rosier's play. He's an honest hockey player. He's up and down. Not too many guys take a run at him because, as you just mentioned, Rosie is a tough hockey player, and he could handle himself pretty well. I think in Rosie we have an excellent hockey player. He's young, and like I say, he's a winner. He likes to, he doesn't like to lose. He's been on a winner himself before, and this year he scored 30 goals. He's a 30-goal scorer, so he's a hard-working guy.
There's one player I would like to talk to you about, Jacques, because you stole him from our team last year, and he became an all-star for your team on defense this season, is Larry Mavety.
Right, Andre, Larry is a type of hockey player. He's very offensive-minded. He has his little problems defensively, and I think this year Pat corrected quite a few points on that, but he has a tremendous shot. I've never seen a hockey player hit the net so many times. He's always on target, and it's a low shot, which is pretty easy sometimes for the centerman in the slot to pick up the rebound, wherever his position the puck comes from. So he's a player that improved much, and I think he's a type of defenseman that pick up 50, 60 points for us every year, and you need those type of players.
What do you think of Darryl Maggs?
Darryl Maggs, Andre, it was a big move for him coming to the Chicago Cougars. I think the style of hockey wasn't the same that he played in Oakland or with the Blackhawks, and at the beginning had his troubles. But I think the guy has really matured and is going to be a good hockey player. He's young, he's tall, he's strong, and he's a good skater. He handles the puck well, so he's definitely in our plans for the future. There's no doubt about that.
The next player I want to talk to you about, Chuck, is a very popular Cougar, John Popeil.
Andre, John is, I can't, see how come Toronto didn't give Jan a chance. He was on the Toronto roster for many years. He come up with the Cougars. One thing about Jan, he's not that flashy type of hockey player, Andre. He works hard. He's in perfect condition. I think at the training camp he weighs 185, and at the end of the season he weighs 185. He's always in good shape. He's a very hard-working player. Last year he scored 31 goals, and this year come back and scored 22, even though he had a broken jaw and was out from 6 to 7 weeks. And it's always difficult, as you know, being a player yourself, to come back after an injury like that, and because you're always a little, on the shaky side, and your timing is not the same. And he's very good for the team. He's a good team man. He's always there on time for practice. He never misses a practice. He never misses a meeting. And sometimes, as a player, they usually have tendency sometimes to, because he's so popular in Chicago, to get away loose, all that. But he's been very good to us. I think that Jan is a type of player that you could build a franchise around, because in hockey today, as you know, with 2 leagues, Andre, players don't work as hard as they used to. I mean, they know that there's always a possibility to play somewhere else. And Jan is a type of player that gives you 100% game after game, and practice is always one of the last guys off the ice. So he's a hell of a hockey player for us, and we certainly have built around a player like that.
You were very fortunate also to put your hands on an all-star goaltender, on Dave Dryden. How do you think Dave's going to fit in your team?
Dave is definitely the type of goaltender we were looking for, Andre. As you know, a goaltender in a hockey team is the key to any success of the hockey team. And last year we had goaltending off and on, but the matter of that was a lack of experience. I think with Dave coming up this year, I think Cam Newton will be more effective and will definitely learn more. Dave this year made the All-Star team. I think he's at the age now where he's turned out to be at his best, where usually a goaltender takes a little longer. And we expect Dave to go maybe 50 or 60 games for us this year. So a lot of work coming up for him.
I think one of the key players on your team the next season and in the future is going to be a player that a lot of people are going to talk about around Chicago. It's this young player by the name of Gary McGregor, who played in the Quebec League for the last few years. What do you think about him?
Gary's about 5'10", weighs about 175, but moves so well. He's strong, too. He's capable of scoring goals. He scored 100 goals in the Quebec League, and I guess in any league you play, if you're capable of scoring 100 goals, you're definitely a good scorer.
Did your team play different, Jacques, from the playoffs on than you did during the regular season?
No, Pat never likes to change his style of play, Andre. You play against Toronto, you play against Jersey, you play against Vancouver. It's the same style every time. There are certain players on every team that you got to pay special attention to. But Pat feels, and at any time, and we've talked together, that any player that plays on the Cougars is capable of playing against a Danny Lawson. Any center should be capable of playing against Andre Lacroix, or any center should be capable of playing against, I should say, any winger should be capable of playing against Bobby Hull. I mean, you're on a team, you're capable of skating. We just advise the guy, well, tonight you're going to be playing against Bobby, just pay a little extra attention to him, but you're capable of doing the job. Signing anybody in particular, sometimes they could create some problems. If you're on the road, the coach, the opponent coach always has the advantage of changing lines before you, so it could create a problem. So we just tell the guy a little special attention that anybody could do the job. I think here in Chicago is a great hockey town. People, I remember when I first got in here, I was just like a stranger in this town, but people get really to know you, and they love hockey. Every time I meet somebody, they always talk about hockey, how the Cougars, all that. I think also, Andre, making the finals this year really put the Cougars on the map. I honestly think that now we're here to stay, and this is a team where it's a big city, and this is a team where when we get our new stadium, Andre, in Rosemount with 18,000 seats, someday we will definitely fill up that stadium.
Come on, guys, let's discipline ourselves here. Let's cover our points, guys.